It's amazing how an entire life, a whole story, can be pieced together from just a few little clues that get left behind. So today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to try to reconstruct a life, and it all starts with a single weathered stone. Our whole story kicks off right here, in a little cemetery in Columbus City, Iowa. This is our first clue, an inscription on a gravestone. We get a name, a date he died, and a super specific age. That's it. This is literally the starting point for our entire investigation. Now, I know what you're thinking. That doesn't seem like much to go on, right? But believe it or not, this single inscription is the first breadcrumb on a long paper trail. So let's follow the evidence and see if we can piece together the life of this man, Henry Carringer. Okay, so our first stop on this journey has to be the U.S. Census. These records, which were taken every 10 years, are basically like historical snapshots. They let us track a person's life, see who was in their family, and even follow their movements across the country. And right away, the census data reveals this incredible timeline of Henry's life. For decades, 1830, 40, 50, 60, he's in Pennsylvania. But then, bam! Sometime after 1860, there's this massive life change. He packs up and moves west to Iowa. It's the classic American migration story, and it's all laid out for us in the data. Let's zoom in on 1840 for a second. Now, back then, the census didn't list everybody's name, just the head of the household. But just look at these numbers. We've got Henry, his wife Sarah, 5 young kids, and an older woman living with them. This tells us, right off the bat, he was a family man with a pretty bustling, multi-generational home. But then you fast forward just 10 years to 1850, and wow, the family portrait has changed dramatically. The census now lists everyone by name, which is great for us. We see Henry, a farmer with 9 children, but his wife Sarah is gone. Instead, there's an 82-year-old woman named Henry Carringer living with them. This is almost certainly his mother. So in just 1 decade, the entire family structure has been turned upside down. And here's where historical detective work gets a little messy. We have 2 really strong sources for Henry's birth date. His own father's family Bible says it's June 6th. But if we do the math and calculate backwards from the date on his gravestone, we get June 25th. That's a 19-day difference. It might seem like a small thing, but it's a perfect example of how even our best sources can disagree. History is rarely a straight line. So we've got this big question mark, right? We know Henry's wife, Sarah, was there in 1840, but she vanished from the records by 1850. Who was she? Where did she come from? Well, to find that out, we've got to dig even deeper into the old legal records back in Pennsylvania. And this is it. This is the smoking gun. It's a quote from a legal document from 1855, settling an estate, and it spells it right out, naming the children of Sarah Carringer, who was formerly Sarah Feather. This one sentence legally confirms his wife's maiden name and definitively links the Carringer and Feather families together. What a find! So what did this big family connection mean for Henry's children in practical terms? Well, from their grandfather's estate, their mother's father, all 10 of them received a grand total of $89.95 to split between them. It's not a lot of money, for sure, but it's a real, tangible piece of their mother's legacy, recorded forever in the county courthouse. Okay, so Henry's roots were planted deep in Pennsylvania for 60 years. His whole life was there. So the big question is, why? Why would he suddenly uproot his entire family and head west? That's the next chapter of this incredible story.
I mean, just think about it. At 60 years old, an age when a lot of people are thinking about slowing down, Henry makes this huge decision to move. Turns out, he wasn't the first in his family to go. 2 of his adult kids, David and Eliza, had already made the trip out to Iowa a few years earlier. So he was following his children, looking for a new start out on the frontier.
And this wasn't just some vague hope or a dream. This was a major investment. The records show that on February 15, 1864, Henry bought 60 acres of land in Louisa County, Iowa for $1,200. That's a lot of money back then. This land deed puts a real concrete financial stake in his pioneer story. And here is the result of that huge journey. The 1870 census shows us Henry, now 69 years old, fully established as a farmer in Iowa. His household has changed yet again. He's living with 3 of his adult children, Mary, Louisa, and Harvey, who are all pitching in to help build this new life together. So we started this whole thing at Henry's gravestone, and now we're coming full circle, back to the end of his life. After the census records run out, the next best place to find information about someone is often in their final legal files, their estate records.
Henry lived in Iowa for about 15 years before he passed away. But the story doesn't end there. His probate file opens up one last window into his life, giving us all these details about his property, his heirs, and, as it turns out, his debts.
So what did he leave behind? Well, the records list his surviving kids as his heirs. We also see that his grandson Wilbert gets a share. But then there's a problem, a big one. The records show that his land, those 60 acres he bought back in 1864, had to be sold. And the reason why? He had debts that needed to be paid off.
And this is the largest claim filed against his estate, a jaw-dropping $1,379.33. And it was filed by a woman named Mary Carringer, most likely his daughter, the one who had been keeping house for him for all those years. This huge claim suggests she was owed some serious back pay, adding one final complicated layer to Henry's life story. So after all of this, you might be asking yourself, why does the story of some farmer from the 1800s even matter today? Well, here's why. The past is never as far away as we think. This slide shows the direct line of descent from Henry, our guy, through his son David, and all the way down 6 generations later to Randall Seaver, the genealogical researcher who actually put all this information together. It's a direct link from the 19th century right to our present day.
It's just incredible, isn't it? We started with a single name on a gravestone, and from that, we've uncovered this rich, complex story of family, of loss, of migration across the country, and even financial struggles. It just goes to show that every single name in a dusty old record book represents a real human life, which kind of makes you wonder, what story is waiting to be discovered in your own past?